Hey everybody, welcome back to the Court of Random Opinion. My name is Lauren Neidigh. Today there's an article from The Guardian going around, again, trying to make the Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively case a political issue and calling it the misogyny slop ecosystem. Look, I understand it makes things that are actually very nuanced and difficult to stomach a lot easier when you put them into little boxes like right versus left. But that's not what we're looking at here at all. And when you try to paint all women with a broad brush without actually paying attention to what most of them are saying, I find that quite misogynistic. I'm going to do a live stream tonight where I talk more about this article in depth and why I really don't like it. But for right now, I'm not going to break down the whole thing. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick points that stuck out to me and talk about why it bothered me. We get off to a pretty bad start. It says, remember Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. First of all, right out the gate, we're seeding into the minds of people that all of the people who love Johnny Depp and hate Amber Heard are on the side of Justin Baldoni or Blake Lively accordingly. Not true. I didn't follow the Johnny Depp case very closely at all. I know the basic facts of that case, but I wasn't watching every day of the trial. I would say I probably just saw the highlights. So right off the bat here, this has nothing to do with that. People's independent opinions on Justin Baldoni or Blake Lively, no, you can't just fit them into the little box with Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. It's not going to work. Second, these are wildly different cases. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were a married couple. They lived together and had a whole life together. This is extremely different. For one thing, the case drags the dark arts of celebrity public relations into the spotlight like never before. For another, it has attracted an inordinate amount of attention from right-wing political figures in the US. Again, right away, you're trying to put this into a box it doesn't fit in. I rarely, if ever, talk politics on my channel, and if I did, I am definitely not far right-wing and I am definitely not far left-wing. They point out Candace Owens as if all women who watch Candace Owens are stupid and can't form their own opinions on things. You can watch somebody and listen to what they're saying and disagree with it. Hell, you can even do that without being a dick. Although that's increasingly hard to come by. Right-wing commentators and left-wing commentators have opinions about everything, all the time. Whether or not you choose to watch is up to you. This is not a new phenomenon, and it's not one-sided. But you can't write an article about misogyny slop culture and then basically say all women are dumb, because if they watch Candace Owens, they can't possibly form their own opinions on each individual thing she's talking about. And even those women who do agree with what she's talking about, they are entitled to those opinions. I may not agree with their conclusions or how they arrived at those conclusions. And if I feel like they're a person who can have a civil adult conversation, I might try to talk to them about it. If I don't, then I probably won't associate with that person. Or maybe I will, because I can accept that some people are going to think differently than me. And as long as they're not hurting me, that's okay. But the writer here uses an extreme example like Candace Owens because he knows Candace Owens gets a lot of negative attention. Whether I agree or disagree with that negative attention is completely irrelevant. This is not a slight to Candace Owens, but she's not where I get my political news, and I certainly don't get it from The Guardian. Disagreeing with someone in one area and agreeing with them in another doesn't make you morphed into the same person. But this writer acts like it's Human fucking Centipede. And nobody likes that movie. Stop trying to make Human Centipede happen. Here they're talking about calling people welfare queens and White Lives Matter t-shirts, and I have never even heard of these people talking about these things because it's not the kind of thing that I listen to. This person is upset about those things and trying to make something completely irrelevant related to it so they can get more people to agree with them on a completely unrelated issue. Here they're quoting Megyn Kelly saying, "You've been gaslit to high heaven every time you've picked up a newspaper in the United States, every time you've turned on CNN, you have been the victim of overbearing and controlling leftists who think they are the final arbiters of what's best for you in your life." She described Lively as an avatar for leftist overreach. Again, that's Megyn Kelly. You're taking somebody who gets a lot of attention and trying to force people to view them as this end-all be-all of representatives for the masses. Now, I don't agree with everything Megyn Kelly says, and I don't disagree with everything that Megyn Kelly says, but I have certainly never said anything like that quote. So once again, it is dishonest to take one or two people and claim that they represent everyone. And then in the same breath, saying it's not just right-wing figures weighing in against Lively, everyone seems to be at it. Go on X or YouTube or TikTok and you'll be served up an endless stream of videos discussing and analyzing the case in forensic detail, overwhelmingly from an anti-Lively point of view. Content creators have been in a feeding frenzy over this case. There are celebrity gossip tea channels, body language experts, AI-powered pseudo-journalism, and I agree, the AI-powered stuff is actually quite annoying, all supported by an army of mommy sleuths. Laptop detectives whose examination of every nuance of the case often verges on conspiracy theory. Once again, I'd like to offer you a different perspective here. The vast majority of what I personally do is read word for word court documents. Yes, you're going to get my opinions with that because it's called YouTube, but people have always had opinions. We live in an age where more people than ever can get their voice out there because of the internet. And yes, people want to hear from other real people because it's relatable. You know what's not relatable? The Guardian, Fox News, CNN. I can't relate to any of that crap. And while I have never once wondered if Blake Lively burped or farted on the set of Gossip Girl, The Guardian is the first and only source that I personally have seen to bring that to my attention. So I would invite you to get the fuck off your high horse. And they're citing another content creator in this article who I have no interest in disparaging. I'm not going to criticize them personally, but I do want to talk about what they said here and why it's hypocritical. The author here is talking about people, content creators, feeding off of each other's outputs, recycling and regurgitating low quality information. First of all, if that's true, pot meet kettle. And second, it's not true. If somebody values someone else's opinion and perspective on something, and that is a credible source of information, such as this came off of a page of a court document, then that's not crap information. If somebody just happens to like someone's commentary, they find them funny, they find them informative, then that's the reason they're going to those sources. You should try it sometime. To be clear, that wasn't the content creator, that was the actual author of the article who wrote that bit right there. The content creator, however, is talking about that clip of the interview with Shasti Flaw, where Blake Lively says, "Congrats on your little bump." And she says the amount of people who have recirculated that clip and who have spoken about that specific interaction, and then they'll make 20, 30 minutes of content about it, and their audience will eat it up because they also thought she was really rude in that clip. And it's like, if everybody wasn't recycling that clip, you wouldn't have known about it because that happened 10 years ago. Flaw, incidentally, is now selling Justice for Justin t-shirts on her Etsy site. And if you don't want one of those t-shirts, don't buy one. Because once again, as women, we're capable of making those choices for ourselves and forming our own opinions. I would argue that what you're implying is actually misogyny slop, even though I fucking hate that term. No salt to her for coming up with it. I just personally don't like it. Now, the same person complaining about this has actually used so much of Shasti's Flaw content that she earned herself a copyright strike. And then, to put out a video saying Shasti Flaw is silencing me is a little bit ridiculous. If you don't want people to regurgitate Shasti Flaw's content, maybe don't do it yourself. It's a little annoying to see other people bashing, fellow content creators for talking about this stuff when they themselves were not getting much attention before they started talking about it. It is perfectly fine for other content creators to have their own opinions. What I'm not going to do is sit here and pretend that they are doing something wrong by speaking their opinions on their own platforms. I think that's a counterproductive way to get your point across when you're doing the exact same thing. And this was a long article, guys, with a lot in it that I want to talk about. So like I said, we'll be back on live later tonight. I've been kind of out of commission for the last few days. I was out of town visiting friends and family. Stick around. I'll still be here to go through the court documents as they come out, and I'll keep an eye out for any news that we want to talk about, because there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. See you all soon.